Well, I actually grew up in motorsports. My father was involved my whole entire life in some form or fashion. He drove cars himself. He owned teams. We actually owned a racetrack here over in Alamance County. So for me, it was always a way of life. And then when I met my husband, he was not familiar with it, and we sort of pulled him into it as well.
All right, now, why did you decide to get your kids involved at such an early age?
I think it's just one of those things that you look at and think it would be good for them to experience different types of competition, not just the norm baseball, basketball, football, but just something a little different.
Now, you travel all over the country, from Connecticut to Florida. I mean, that must be expensive. How does that kind of, how do y'all, just have the drive to do that?
Well, it really comes from the kids, because once they started, they loved it, and so we do whatever we can, and we don't do other things that I guess you would say normal families do. We don't take a vacation. Our vacations are around the racetrack, so we actually kind of combine all of it into one thing. And we may have to pinch pennies other places to keep doing it, but it's what they love, so it's what we try to give them.
It's definitely one of those things that is, however much the kid gives, you've got to provide the exact same thing from that side. If he's not willing to work that hard and to do those things for it, then you don't go the extra mile either. But if they are willing to do it and they show you that they want to do it, then as a parent, I think you have to give equal or more to provide them the opportunities.
Definitely. Well, I can just feel the passion about racing that you have as a family. How do you maintain that passion?
I think it just happens naturally. If you're a competitive person at heart, then I think competing and winning just comes naturally. It just happens. It doesn't. You don't have to brew it up if it exists. Believe me.
All right, now Salisbury is really kind of your all second home. Tell us a little bit about the track down there.
Well, the track that's in Salisbury was actually built by Next Hill driver Bobby Labonte. His kids raced, and when they started, the closest track was in Georgia. So he, with his foundation and his sponsors at the time and his team members, contributed and built the facility we have there. And it is definitely one of the nicest quarter midget facilities in the country. We've been all over, and people come to our track from all over, and it's a great place.
Okay, next day it's quarter midget. Kind of explain, what is quarter midget?
So everybody, when you talk to people about racing with kids, they all automatically assume go-karts. The main difference between a go-kart and a quarter midget is go-karts usually don't have roll cages on top. And also the kid in a go-kart just sits in a seat. He's not strapped in. Since the kid's the highest point in a go-kart, if they wreck, they want the kid to be thrown from the go-kart so it doesn't land on top of him. They have a roll cage. The kids are belted in, 5-point harnesses, arm restraints, Hans devices, exactly like big cars. And they're a lot more protected. A go-kart also is a rigid chassis where there's no suspension, shocks, or springs, and a quarter midget has full suspension just like a car going down the road.
Well, and the quarter part means that these are a quarter of the size. So there are cars just like this that are 3 to 4 times bigger that adults actually drive. So that the quarter actually comes from the scale of the car.
Right.
Well, you certainly know a lot about racing. How long have you been doing it now?
With our kids, we've been doing it since 2006. So, we've been doing this, how many is that? Almost 6 years. Almost 6 years.
Mm-hmm. What is your biggest accomplishment you think from this racing?
In regards of what?
What can your kids take away from this whole experience racing? Almost every weekend. And
I think from my standpoint, what I've seen with the kids is at their age, they're very mature. They've experienced, when they were 6 and 7 years old, things that most people don't experience until they're in their late 15s. And I'm not just talking about on the track. Talking with their friends, and their friends tell them how they're going to drive the race, and then their friends don't do that. So they're kind of like, oh, wait a minute. And then they realize that, when it gets to competition, it is what it is. Most people don't experience that until they're older in life. Understanding how to make judgment calls quickly at a very young age, making bad decisions, for lack of a better term, can get you hurt. I think they learn how to adjust to that and do that at a lot younger age than most kids.
And they also have developed confidence in themselves, because in the car it is, and on the track, it's up to them. It's not a team. It's not, it's an individual sport, and they've experienced team sports as well, but this time it's really them and only them once they get on the track. Right. So it does develop confidence that it comes quickly, like you said, because a bad decision can be bad.
Now you say a team sport. What differentiates racing with like football or basketball besides the you're by yourself here?
I'll say the main difference is that the two main components of this sport is the cars and how the cars perform, and the second side is how the kids perform. In most sports, the father doesn't go out and prepare the football or the pads or the helmet and those things. In this sport, the parent and the kid prepare the cars, get the cars adjusted for them to drive. Now, then it gets back to a communication. So if the car's not doing what the kid wants, then he has to give the feedback to me, and then I have to adjust. So it opens up a line of communication at a young age that is, not many people sit there and talk about, what the car's doing with a 6-year-old, but I do, and I do a whole lot. So I think that's what one separates it, is there's way more communication. There's way more individualistic attitude toward it once he's in the car.
Right. No, they're definitely coming up to 16. 4 years. So do you wonder about when they turn 16, will some of this like racing kind of rub off onto the road? Or?
Yeah, they're either going to drive way too fast, or they're going to be just really good drivers because they've been doing it so long. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, it's they also realize that the racetrack is where you race, and when we always have conversations about when they get older and they're driving on the road, that is not a racetrack, and it's the people around you. As they'll tell me that, well, Dad, I know what I'm doing. Maybe you do, but it's the surroundings are totally different. The people around you are totally different. When you're racing with people that have been racing just as long as you. They've experienced those things. Might not be the exact same. Also, there's very rarely people that have been drinking on the track with them. Yeah. So I mean, it's a totally different environment, and I think they're aware of that.